unboxing, I just organized all the books that I received kind of into categories. And so this category is information books. So let's get started. The first one is this oversized book called One of a Kind, a story about sorting and classifying by Neil Packer. And it is published by Candlewick Studio. And, so it just explains like biology classification. And it does it visually and with things, examples that are easy to understand. Cats, animals, there's clouds. So it's visually very pretty. It's a really beautiful book and easy to understand and to relate to. And I think it's a perfect introduction into classification and sorting, which is a biology concept. The second one is Sea Lions in the Parking Lot, Animals on the Move in a Time of Pandemic. It is by Lenora, Todaro, and Annika Siems. Let's see, it is published by Minedition. And so, this is, I don't know if you guys saw, like during the pandemic, they had like videos of like dolphins in the canals in Venice, and just kind of all of the animals reclaimed urban spaces because humans weren't there anymore. And so this seems to be a book about that. Starts in Adelaide, Australia, where kangaroos, and in Nara, Japan, the Sika deer experienced the joys of escalators. Here we have pandas. Really? Wow. They actually they were still in zoos, but now that the pandas had more privacy, they were happier, and they had a baby. Here in Mumbai, let's see, flamingos came. So it's kind of all over the world. Wow. This is fascinating. I love it, actually. And as you can see, it's in chapters, but there's, a lot of white space. It has a bit of a chapter book feel, but also a picture book. It's kind of a nice blend. I think this is a great bedtime book, too, because you can read, just, one chapter at a time, or, it's easy to stop. And as you can see, gorgeous illustrations. Wow, I didn't expect that to be so beautiful. Soccer for Kids, Learn the Basics and Play the Game by David A. Kelly. He lives in Newton with me. You might know him for his wildly popular ballpark mystery series. That the first book is Fenway Park. And here he just wrote, it's a very informational, easy to understand book about, the game of soccer. It's like perfect for, I would say like once kids start thinking about, for us, like travel soccer, which is around 3rd grade. Anyone who's sort of getting into soccer in elementary school and wants to learn more, and like some kids who just really like to learn deeply about the positions, the rules. There's some players that he highlights. It's just kind of like all in one place. Learn about soccer. This next one is a pretty hefty one. It is from National Geographic, Treasury of Magical Tales from Around the World, by Donna Jo Napoli, illustrated by Christina Balit. I actually have read Donna Jo Napoli. I read a book sort of like a fairy book set in ancient Egypt. I thought she was just a really good writer. And I know she wrote another historical fiction book. I just saw it on Twitter. Actually it's about the Italians who were secretly imprisoned in concentration camps in Japan during World War II, which I kind of just vaguely learned about recently through the story of the woman who helped write Japan's constitution, because her parents also, she was Jewish, her from I think Austria, her parents also were put in prison camps. So anyway, I just think she's a great writer. So these are dazzling tales. They seem like fairy tales or folk tales. Frogs, princesses, giants, teapots. So I think these are like classic fairy tales, you know, with magic. But they're kind of doing a multicultural around the world, you know, very much so like a book, like a Barefoot Books book, which is interesting because if I didn't see it was National Geographic, I would have been like, this is totally a Barefoot Books book. But it's National Geographic and it looks great. And here I have a Barefoot Books book, which is also like a similar concept where they explore a concept all over different geographic areas around the world. And in this case, this is Water, a deep dive of discovery by Christy Mihaly and illustrated by Mariona Cabassa. And Christy Mihaly, I feel like she's also New England based. And so this is like a STEM book about water, all about water. And it's funny because if I didn't know that this was a Barefoot Books book, I would have thought this is a National Geographic book. And so, anyway, I like these information books that have, you know, that are very interactive. Like this has flaps and also are beautifully illustrated. And then just kind of are fun to flip around in. So you can kind of, you know, if you have a child that likes nonfiction, this is a good one. You can kind of just, you know, find a page that looks interesting, read, you know, flip around. That looks great, Water. And then the last one is also, I believe it's a Barefoot Books, Plant Power, Explore the World's Renewable Energy by Stacy P. Clark and Annalisa Beghelli, who I think is the illustrator. And I do believe, yes, it is a Barefoot Books book. And so this is about renewable energy. And here we have, I think, solar power and I think harnessing rivers to make electricity, usually through dams. More solar, wind, all the different ways, kind of very cleanly illustrated, you know, kind of explains it from the illustrations in a sort of, it has kind of a real, you know, has a kind of a realistic scientific feel, illustration style. And then in the back you have a little bit of physics that explains mechanically how it generates power. And so, yeah, a great book about renewable energy. Very important now, these days. Especially, like, I grew up in Seal Beach, and there is now a huge oil spill from underground oil pipes that ruptured, and it's threatening the wetlands, which are nearby in Huntington Beach and Sunset Beach. It's a really important wetland areas for birds. And it's like, I think like 140,000 gallons. Yeah, it just makes you realize, like, if we can be less oil dependent, you know, we won't have these huge environmental catastrophes. But anyway, thank you to all the publishers for these books, and thank you all for watching.